Hi everyone, welcome to the continuing mini-series on Endless Road. Today in part 4 we take a look at the second bridge, but first let's roll the Patreon credits, and today I can welcome Samuel and Charles as the new top tier patrons. If you want to support me and gain access to new tutorials early as well as other extras, then please click the Patreon link down below in the description. If you are getting a lot out of these tutorials and want to make a single donation instead of monthly payments, there is a PayPal donate link down there too. The series on Endless Road is entering part 4 today, and in this episode we pick apart the second bridge. This part feels like the calm before the storm. We are taking down the intensity only to double it in the next part. This section is the easiest part of the song so far, with lots of open chords and quite a few repeating sections. There is also a lot more hybrid picking going on than in the previous sections, but it is all very straightforward and shouldn't pose too much problems. There's one voicing with the thumb over the side of the neck, for which I'll show you an alternative, and the main difficulty here is the rhythm, with a few tricky combinations of syncopated rhythms, quarter note triplets and anticipated chords. Let's get started right away. Okay, so on to bridge number 2. I'm going to play through it one time, all the way back to front. I'm going to start from those final 3 chords in the first bridge. So starting from the F major 7th, making the transition into the second bridge. That was the second bridge. After that, we're transferring to a section in E major. We're starting out in E minor. And you can sort of look at that as the third bridge with the fast alternate picked section in it. Now, let's have a look at this first. We are ending up, if you have watched the tutorial of the first bridge, then we are ending up on an F major 7th to G to D over F sharp. You probably already know this. And Tommy doesn't really count out a full bar or anything. He just lets that last chord sustain, and then he heads into the bridge, the second bridge, whenever he feels like it. So you just end up on that last section. Don't even count out. Whenever you feel like it, head into that first chord. That first chord right away is a beautiful one. It's an E minor 9th chord, so open E string, index finger 2nd fret, ring finger 4th fret, open G string, middle finger 3rd fret on the B string, and an open E string. We're using that same reverse arpeggio trick we already used in the first bridge as well. So putting the plectrum on the top E string and then dragging down evenly and softly. Don't put in too much force into that, and it's really light. Just strumming or moving, dragging the plectrum is maybe a better word, dragging the plectrum across the strings in an upward motion. And then from there on, there's a lot of hybrid picking going on. So really slowly, the next bar. And that little section will be repeated quite a few times. So what you're doing is you're using the middle finger and the ring finger on the G and the B string, and everything else is played by the plectrum. So that upward motion, and then ring finger, middle finger on the G and B string. So plectrum, fingers, plectrum, 2 times the fingers, plectrum, fingers, plectrum. Make sure you get the timing right on that. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then from that point on, that pattern is repeated a few times. You're switching between that E minor 9th chord and a C chord with an added 9th and a raised 11 in between there. The picking pattern on the C chord is the exact same thing. Now, one thing before I move on to that C chord, I forgot to mention. Despite not playing it, Tommy always keeps down that second fret when playing that E minor chord. So you will see him move throughout the next bars, always with the index finger to the third fret for the C chord and back to the second fret. But he never actually plays that second fret, only in that very first reverse arpeggio that note is being played. But it's just a form of safety. You will notice that if you will probably make a few mistakes with the plectrum, plucking the wrong string. If you keep down that B note on the A string, then you will be fine. It will sound perfectly in harmony with the rest of the chord. So the first E minor chord, then moving up the index finger, everything else stays the same. And then you're starting out with two notes with the plectrum, the A string and the D string, right behind each other. I'm using both downstrokes, so down, down, and then the exact same picking pattern yet again. And from now on, it's always just repeating the same thing, moving back to the E minor chord. Always the same picking pattern. So you're only playing a full quarter note on that very first reverse arpeggio, and from there on it's all straight eighth notes. Slowly, 3, 4. Then Tommy repeats the same section even two more times. I'm sorry, it's not even the exact same section. He's staying on that E minor chord for 2 bars now, but he's taking down the volume really, really drastically. So mute that low E string and try plucking those top strings as lightly as possible. And then he moves into the first melodic section, to a full C added ninth chord without the raised 11. So down, 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 and then again fingers on the G and B string. Down, 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 fingers, fingers, and then hybrid picking plectrum, middle finger and ring finger together. Really slowly. That's the opening section of the melody. Now let me play those bars up until this point all the way back to front with that volume difference for those 2 bars. So really picking up the volume once you enter into that 3rd bar of that E minor chord and you're starting to pick out the melody again. So I hope that was clear. So 4 bars of that E minor to C chord on a regular volume, then 2 bars on that E minor chord really softly, then picking up the volume again for that section, moving to a C chord, open E chord, and then again a lot of hybrid picking, open E string, open G string, again G string and E string, but now with the 2nd fret you can pick. Tommy uses the thumb over the side of the neck for that 2nd fret down below. It's perfectly possible to use the index finger as well. And then moving to a G on the low E string, 3rd fret, and an open B string. All of this is played with the plectrum for the bass notes and the middle finger for the melody note. Now the next section will require some special attention just for the rhythm. It's not that difficult to play in terms of technique, but the rhythm is a really tricky combination of long triplets, notes that have been bound across the bar line, so you really have to pay attention to get the timing on this one right. I'm going to try in a second to count along. It's not going to be easy, but I'll show you the fingerings first. So 2, open A string and first fret on the B string. 2 times, again, the G string and the open B string. And then moving to, Tommy uses again the thumb over the side of the neck, first fret this time, and the second fret with the middle finger on the G string. Pulling off to an open string. I'm going to address an alternative for that thumb over the side of the neck in a second. Again, if this feels difficult for you, because right after that pull-off, you will have to play an F sus2 chord, which is quite a large chord shape. So if the thumb over the side of the neck feels difficult, I'll show you an alternative in just a second. First, we'll address that rhythm, because that is something else in this section. I'm going to play it one time without counting along. This is how it sounds. Now that last F chord, that voicing isn't easy, but the rhythm is. That's the easiest part of the 2 bars. Maybe a quick look at that voicing. It's thumb over the side of the neck, ring finger, pinky on the 3rd fret on the A and D string, open G string, and then a little bar across the first fret, sorry, on the high B and E string. What can you do to avoid using the thumb over the side of the neck? You can start out with the index finger, pulling off, and then basically leaving out the index finger for the chord and just playing the top of the chord without the low bass note underneath. If you're really flexible, you can try to add in the bass note with the middle finger, but that is not an easy chord either. So this is a possibility. This is how it sounds if you leave out that bass note on that final chord, so you can leave out the thumb altogether. So that last chord misses just the root note underneath, but it still sounds fine. Again, if in this section the thumb feels really awkward, then this might be a possibility. You're playing the same thing, only that low F note is gone. Now, onto that rhythm part. I'm going to try and count along, and I'm prepared for this because this will probably take quite a few takes. So if my beard has grown since when I come back, then it's probably because I spent a few days on this. Here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that wasn't too bad. That actually went by faster than I thought. That timing really is something special. That combination of anticipated notes, 8 notes, long triplets, and the constant shifts in what you should be playing really takes some time. One more time, really slowly to get it into your fingers, and then you're basically done for the first part of the bridge. This is, as I said in the intro, the easier section of the song. One more time. Just for the variation, I now added that middle finger in there, but as you heard before, it also sounds fine just without the bass note. let me play what we have up until this point all the way back to front, starting again from those last chords of the first bridge. Leave it ringing out, and then when you feel like it, drop down the volume. Pick it back up. So that last F chord is just in front of the beat. 3, 4. 3, 4. It's just strumming all the way through that last bar. And the second part of the second bridge is mostly repetition, except for the end part. And there is one little variation. We're heading back into that first E minor 9th chord. Straight into the melody. So after those 4 bars, we basically played in the beginning of the bridge as well, sort of as a new intro. That 2-bar drop down in volume is gone. It's just 4 bars. Straight into the melody. So that drop down, those 2 extra bars are out of there. Then the last section, or maybe now that I think of it, in his most recent version, Tommy actually played a little variation. Something maybe you would like to add in. It's actually easier to play than what he did in the original version. And he plays a variation on that C chord with the added 9 and the raised 11. And this is what he played in his last version. So he just plays a simple arpeggio on that C chord with a descending bass line. So on the E minor chord, everything else is exactly the same. And then on the C chord, down, 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 up, 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 down, down, down. Simple arpeggio. Now, in that more recent version, Tommy plays this all the time. So also the first time when he's heading for the first time into that second bridge, this is the picking pattern right away. So you can basically choose either you play what we saw in the beginning, or you play the variation. So sounds fine, both of them. Maybe you want to play the original version the first time, the variation the second time. See, whatever works for you, but now you know both ways in which to play this section. We're ending the first bridge with, again, a lot of open chords. So that's the exact same thing as we did the first time. And now we're going to move up from a C chord to sort of an A minor chord. We're basically only playing the open E string and the first fret, and in between we'll be using 2 open strings as well. The G string and the the D string and the G string will be used open as well. To G with a B in the bass, 2nd fret on the low A string, I use the middle finger, and the 3rd fret on the B string, I use the pinky, moving to ultimately a full C chord. The way Tommy plays this, he's using hybrid picking in combination with a strum, sort of the same thing we did in the very beginning of the song. This is how it sounds like, really slowly. transferring to the next bridge, bridge number 3. Now that last section needs some special attention in terms of technique. You're starting out in front of the beat, 3, 4, and then plucking the bass string with the plectrum at the same time, middle finger on the B string, so hybrid picking. And then you're playing down, up on those 2 open strings, so hybrid picking, down, up, a soft strum, and I cannot put enough emphasis on this, softly strumming, 3, 4, and then you're repeating the exact same technique, so hybrid picking, 3, 4, down, up, strum, hybrid picking, down, up, strum, hybrid picking, down, up, strum, hybrid picking. The exact same thing each and every time. The only time it's different is on that last C chord, because then we are heading straight into the next bridge. One more time, really slowly. 3, 4, down, up, strum, down, up, strum, down, up, strum, down, up, bass note, followed by that E added 9th chord. We'll have a look at that in just a second. This might feel a bit awkward because you are interrupting your alternate picking pattern for that hybrid pick note each and every time. So down, up, down, and then your picking hand would expect another upstroke. So down, up. But since you have to use hybrid picking, I have never used hybrid picking using an upstroke, so you really have to shift down with the plectrum really quickly. 3, 4, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, down. And that feels a bit strange in the beginning, and it certainly isn't easy at the pace Tommy picks for this section. So put in some extra work to make sure that this feels like a fluent motion, because you're actually always interrupting a fluent motion to really head back for that bass string really quickly. One more time, really slowly. 3, 4. Now, a bit more up to speed. 3, 4. So I hope you can notice I'm trying to play those strums in between as soft as possible. I know it's not clear in the tab when you look at it, but ideally these notes should be written really small, just because they are so light. It's more of a means to push the tempo forward rather than really putting an extra chord in there. We're ending up on a large E added 9th chord, which is now an easy fingering, open E string, middle finger 2nd fret, pinky 4th fret, index finger 1st fret, so this might feel like a stretch, and then 2 open strings on top of that chord. That is the first chord of the 3rd bridge, and the 3rd bridge we will be covering in the next part of the tutorial, part 5. I think we are heading for a 6-part tutorial in total. And that part also includes the really fast alternate picked section. But first, let me play this part of the bridge really slowly, one more time, giving you a good look at everything in its entirety. And then next week we'll be covering the 3rd bridge. Here we go, bridge number 2. straight into bridge number 3, but we will cover that next week. Make sure you get all of this down, and I will make sure to be back in time with bridge number 3. See you next week. No, next week. See you there.